Dobré odpoledne, dámy a pánové.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Já si dovoluji vás tady dneska přivítat jménem lead partnera projektu oživení pevnostních měst.
I would like to welcome you here on behalf of the project Recapture of the Fortress Cities.
Jsem velmi ráda, že jste přijeli v tak hojném počtu a ráda bych tady přivítala především teda naše projektové partnery.
I'm very glad that you came in such a high number and I would like to welcome our project partners.
Takže to je regionální agentura Antwerpy z Belgie.
So it is the regional landscape development from Antwerp.
Agentura pro regionální rozvoj Severozápad Rumunsko.
Northwest Regional Development Agency.
Prešovský samosprávný kraj ze Slovenska.
The Prešov Self-Governing Region from Slovakia.
Provinční vláda Teruel ze Španělska.
Provincial Government of Teruel from Spain.
A město Magdeburg z Německa.
And the city of Magdeburg from Germany.
A taky bych ráda speciálně přivítala kontrolní orgán. Máme tady Máme tady také, ráda bych přivítala všechny vás, kteří jste přijeli na konferenci. Máme tady zástupce z Národního památkového ústavu, kolegy z Královéhradeckého kraje a další místní odborníky, zástupce Sdružení Terezín město změny a památníku Terezín a určite dalších spoustu zajímavých hostů. Jenom krátce k projektu. Startovali jsme v srpnu 2019. Bohužel nám do toho vstoupil COVID. Takže spousta těch projektových aktivit proběhla v online prostoru. Ale i tak si myslím, že jsme splnili všechny projektové aktivity. A dneska se seznámíme s tím, jak dopadla jejich realizace. Já bych vám chtěla popřát úspěšné jednání. A příjemně strávený čas v Terezíně. Děkuji.
Dobrý den, já bych vás chtěl přivítat jménem města Terezín. Děkuji, že jste sem dorazili do našeho města. Jsem rád, že vás můžu přivítat zde ve Vízrově domě, který je zrekonstruovaný nedávno. Podařilo se nám ho zrekonstruovat s dotací, což nebylo úplně jednoduchý. Nicméně povedlo se a jak všichni vidíte, je to krásný. Dozvěděl jsem se, že někteří z vás zde jsou už od úterý. Což mě za město Terezín samozřejmě velmi potěšilo. A všem vám děkuji.
Tak já si vás také dovolím uvítat. Jmenuji se Vendula Bláhová a jsem ředitelka Terezín město změny.
Vendula Bláhová, I'm the director of the Terezín Town Changes and I would like to welcome you here all as well.
V tomto projektu jsme partnerem společně s městem a s památníkem Terezín.
We are a partner in this project together with the town and with the Memoriam of Terezín.
Už jenom to, že mám na sobě křiklavé červené tričko,
Just the thing that I have the red bright T-shirt on myself, or what I'm wearing.
chci dát jasně najevo, že my představujeme tu krásnou část historickou, pravý důvod vzniku pevnosti Terezín.
Represent that we want to give you why this town Terezín was created.
Rozhodně nechceme zastínit historii světové války nebo starosti běžné spojené, které mají obyvatelé Terezína.
Of course, we don't want to forget the issues and the problems which the inhabitants and the population of Terezín people had in the World War.
A pro mě nejdůležitějším výsledkem tady toho projektu je nejenom dnešní 3 generály, které vám budou představeny,
It's not only the 3 generals which we will show you today, but what is the most important thing we will tell you today.
ale hlavně to, že jsme schopní tyhle 3 složky si sednout k jednomu stolu a sdílet společně informace a důležité podklady.
And it is important that we can all together, these 3 units, share all the information and important documentation.
Přeji vám krásný pobyt.
I would like to welcome you now stay here.
Tak, dobrý den, přeji vám všem. Já se jmenuji Jan Droubínek a jsem ředitelem památníku Terezín, instituce, která byla založena bezprostředně po druhé světové válce.
This fortress was established after the Second World War. My name is
Jan Droubínek.
Jan Dragos, sorry, and I would like to welcome you here as well.
Jak jsem řekl, památník Terezín byl postaven, respektive založen
It was established, this memoriam,
2 roky po skončení druhé světové války.
years after the Second World War ended.
To znamená, že jeho hlavní náplní jeho hlavní náplň se zabývá relativně novodobou historií, tedy ne konkrétně tragickou historií období druhé světové války a persekuce. Já jsem strašně rád, že přestože nejsme jaksi součástí města, jsme jeho geografickými, bezprostředními a dobrými sousedy. A jsem rád, že jsme na tomto projektu, který se bude věnovat zelení, veřejnému prostranství a turistickému ruchu, mohli spolupracovat. Jak jsem řekl, my se primárně zabýváme výzkumem období druhé světové války, muzejnickou činností a osvětou v této věci, ale péče o památky, které my máme v naší správě, je naší povinností. A protože s městem sousedíme, jsou to naši sousedi a dobří přátelé, musíme na tomto prostoru, který jsem zmínil na těch 3 bodech, spolupracovat. A já za tu spolupráci děkuji.
Thank you very much for all the opening speeches of all the stakeholders here in Terezín Fortress. Now let's start with the presentation of the action plans, because we have many things to show, many knowledge to share across the European countries connected in this project. So please, first partner is Terezín, and I would like to welcome Mr. Hudák. And his presentation about the new green management of Terezín.
Hello. This presentation is very short. Prepare Peča Kuča 2220. And now, Žul. Prosím? Už to funguje. We prepare this a small book, very simple book with very old practices about only fortress Terezín? No, only all cities. It's a very simple part about current state, and it's typical for many Czech cities, many Czech landscape. But we prepare old practices. It's right proposal and for economic, ecology, and effective. Very low cost practices with pasture and main non-maintenance. Many parts of this fortress volumes and many ravines, walls. But contra this is grass cutting, and no flat, but only islands, only pictures or drafts from actors, and from the volumes or tales. And slopes. Many volumes from 45 it's a sloper. It's a height 30 degrees, 45, and this problem won't degrade it with no simply grass. We collaborate many flowers, many small trees, and human worker. And from Terezín is a typical very problem with reconstruction this volume. How? And arborists and habitats. These parts not only typical cards from this book, but for usual for these people, for Tomaso city management from Terezín and other, it's very important. What and how much? These prices typical from Czech Republic, and we prepare many cards, but we start from typical for the practices today. City refurbishment, nor arborist intervention. It's 44,000 for one tree with our gardener, and prepare what arborist intervention. It's very different prices, only 15 euro. Many cards with practices we create from old practices from 18th and 19th century, and we consulting with many stakeholders. And one of partner is Academy from Czech Republic, and very crazy finally answer. It's not worker, not cutting, it's only nature. We live the nature, it's better for us, it's economical for us, it's better for all nature we found and trees and many flowers from 17th century. We found very practices near the river, near the inundation from 18th and 19th century. But problem for new green management is today practices. The today practices is very dead for nature. This is a map from section any rural grass from typical cutting grass, inundations, and I speak about 17 and 18 century. It's Czech Republic. And we have a holistic wave with historical plans. It's this or this or this planning proportion from Czech Jarovec, maybe sorry. And we next part with historical partner and found two wave. It's typical for fortress. Soldiers and cutting 1 or 2 years the grass. For this time, it's typical 1 or 2 cut, 2 months. New general, it's better, but no month, but year. And combine with cow, horse, and any fauna and flora. Sorry, we have not new, we only combine historical practices. Sorry for my English and better this Jiří Hoffman or this book, and maybe 90% it's only card with historical practices, and we transport now time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next one is Mr. Schmirler with the Manual of Public Spaces for the Terezín open spaces.
Hello, my name is Walbert Schmirler, and I will present you the second action plan named Terezín Public Space Design Manual. And this document is about principles and approaches for revitalization of public spaces in Terezín, and I will take you to a brief tour through this manual. It starts with various analysis displayed on the map of entire Terezín, and this analysis about ownership relations, and it actually tells us that the municipality of Terezín owns most of the buildings in the town and entirety of the fortification system. This is a great advantage for the process of revitalizing the city, but also it's a tremendous burden. in the terms of managing and maintaining these properties. There is more of the analytical maps. This one is about civic amenities and also about the fact that although the Terezín has a large number of cultural institutions, especially museums, it is not sufficiently equipped with shops, stores, restaurants, and other gastro-related amenities. This is actually a real problem for the development of the city, but it can be solved with good design of public spaces, because high-quality public space attracts people to stay in it, and it's only a matter of time before shops and other amenities emerge naturally around well-functioning spaces. And after the analytical part, the next part of the document is about general principles for all the public spaces in the town. And this map shows all the public spaces that are subject of this manual. And the general design principles for other public spaces are focused mainly on surfaces and on street equipment. And there are several principles to follow designing surfaces or placing equipment around the town. For example, the first principle is about using minimal possible equipment, and the idea behind that is that the idea behind that is to make the public space as clean, as simple as possible, and lower number of equipment, of course, means lower implementation and maintenance cost. And for example, the third principle about preserving the character of the fortress town means that surfaces and elements placed in public space must not disrupt the character of the historical fortress and must not weaken the visual impact of historic architecture. So they should therefore always be placed in such a way and that they do not draw attention to themselves and that they do not encourage people to move around the town in a way that is unnatural for functioning of the town. And the first category of the equipment is street furniture. It's an essential part of any public space, and it plays an important role in the way the space can be used. Because Terezín is a town of great historic value, the furniture should not be visually very striking and should let the interesting environment of historic fortress to stand out. And the street furniture must also be designed with great emphasis on durability and ease of maintenance. After the design principle, the next page is always dedicated to references of earlier described equipment. And the next category is about railing. This is actually quite a big topic in Terezín, because within the bastion fortification, there is many moments when it's necessary to use railing to ensure safety. But however, the historic fortification is of a great historic value, and the railing must be implemented in such a way and to such an extent that it does not visually or physically damage the fortification system. And again, we can see references of good practices and concrete solutions that can be used in Terezín. And as you can see, there is more equipment crucial for quality of public spaces, like street lighting or various little details often found in pavement level. And just as important as equipment are the surfaces used across the town. In order to unify the city, I divided the surfaces in public spaces into only 3 categories, and according to their primary use. And for every category, there should be only one way how to pave the surface. The categories are quite simple. First is mainly for car traffic, second for pedestrian movement, and the third category contains only partially paved surfaces. And here actually starts on this slide the main part of the menu, which is about individual specific approach to 20 important public spaces in Terezín. And you can see all the 20 places on this map. And most important public place in town is definitely the main square. The primary function of any square is to provide the town with versatile paved surface on which can be held a variety of cultural events or gatherings. And because the square is now in form of a park, it's unable to fulfill its primary function. And there are also other problems. For example, the sidewalks on the streets around the square are way too narrow, so there is no space for street equipment. And there is also a lot of space, actually too much, allocated or provided to car parking. And on the next page, or the next page contains various design principles and approaches to revitalization of the main square. I will briefly introduce just some of them. For example, the center of the square should consist of a large universal paved area, providing sufficient space for any events organized by the town. The central area should also be comfortable for a large number of people who will be moving or staying there for long periods of time, which can be ensured mainly by right choice of paving and appropriate placement of the street furniture. This Terezín Square is also so big, it's not appropriate to pave the whole area, and the peripheral part of the square should have some secondary function, completing the main purpose of the square. Last slide dedicated to the square contains some historic photos and drawings that are showing us how the square used in the past and how it looked like. And all the 20 important public places are described in this style. This, for example, is the bridge over River Ohře. And there are just two problems right now. The first one is caused by pedestrians crossing the road in a place where cars coming in 1,000 can't see them. And the second problem is speed of motor vehicles crossing the bridge and the presence of lorries overloading the bridge structure. The problematic crossing over the roadway should be solved simply by changing the pedestrian route, and the speed of passing cars can be reduced by adding street furniture to the wide bridge sidewalks and declaring that the bridge is now an area with high concentration of pedestrians and it's not just for car traffic. And again, the last slide is dedicated to some examples of good practice of before described principles. And some of those 20 places are just crossroads or places in front of important buildings. This, for example, is crossroad in front of the entrance to the Terezín Memorial. And the main problem here is car traffic and overall state of this place. In this case, there are two recommended solutions. First one is using of mini roundabout, and the second solves the problem by raising the surface of the intersection to the level of the sidewalks. Here are again some examples of good practice of mentioned solutions. The main part of the project is about individual approach to important public spaces, and the rest of the document is focusing on linear public spaces like streets, roads, links between important points and so on. And this type of public places is described only at the level of this map. Here are, for example, presented all the streets inside the fortification, and in the manual you can read about the hierarchy and various parameters. And the very last part of the document is focused on town-wide themes like parking, urban waste, or tourism. On this map you can see public spaces that are primarily focused on tourism, and in the manual you can read why this part of the town is best suited for establishment of tourist routes and how those places should be designed so tourism does not damage them. And as I said, these town-wide themes are the last part of the manual and also the last part of this presentation. Thank you.
And the last part of the action plan for Terezín is redesign of tourist infrastructure. So please, Mr. Hudák, once again.
And now speak Czech, better for you. And typical for us, it's collaborate with a great colleague from best. Tak jestli můžu. Bude to takový trošku rychlejší, ale pojedeme. Tak, já budu představovat teda infrastrukturu. Můžu? Redesign infrastruktury. Město Terezín má mnoho bodů.
So town Terezín has many points, many locations,
které jsou zajímavé pro turisty.
which are interesting for the tourists.
Ale pouze jeden, který se váže na pevnost.
But only one which is connected to the fortress.
Tuhle krásnou hvězdu, který má spolek v logu.
This beautiful star which the Union has in the logo.
Jak to vypadá teď?
This is how it looks now.
Areál. Vstup,
Entrance.
Visual smoke. And recepce.
And reception desk.
Stávající stav.
So that's the present existing situation or status.
Problém, velká koncentrace lidí na malém prostoru.
So the problem is there is a large concentration of people on a small space.
A mnoho aut, který jezdí kolem dětí.
And lots of cars which drive by where the children are also.
Ve spolupráci s partnery
In collaboration and cooperation with our partners,
jsme to celé převrátili.
we turned it all over.
Vytvořili jsme tam víc věcí, než mají teď.
We have created more things than they have now at the moment.
Stellplatz pro obytné vozy.
So stellplatz, a stopover for the trucks, or where you can also sleep.
Po dánském stylu 40 parkovacích míst pro kola.
Dutch style thing, 40 parking spaces for the bicycles.
Pro novodobé lidi i elektrokola.
Also for the electrobikes for new times.
Elektromobily.
And electromobile.
Zrecyklili jsme průjezd autama.
So there is the cars entering. We have made it possible.
A v rámci tohohle jsme nezapomněli na historii tohohle místa.
And in frame of this, we didn't forget the history of this area.
Stromy, tráva,
Trees, grass, morphology,
a hlavně pevnost.
and main is the fortress as such.
Využili jsme spoustu aktivit z Berlína, Španělska
We have utilized lots of activities from Berlin, from Spain,
a Skandinávie.
and from Scandinavia.
A vytvořili jsme jednoduchý puzzle,
And we have created an easy, simple puzzle
kde Batman si může přijít na bar anebo zahrát šachy.
where you can come to play chess or
na houpačku.
have some roundabout, yeah.
A aby jsme zůstali v nízkonákladovém rozpočtu,
And to stay in the low cost area and budget,
zaměřili jsme se na místní partnery
we have focused on local partners
a místní podmínky.
and local conditions.
Spousta prvků v pevnosti je zahrabaná,
Lots of elements in the fortress is under the ground,
takže je odhraben
so we will dig into it,
na stávající dlažbu,
to the present floor or ground.
vytvoříme jakýkoliv libovolný tvar,
We can create any shape
bez architekta.
without the architect.
Vytvoříme kopec,
So we will create a hill, a slope,
zasadíme stromy a bylinky,
and we will put some herbs and trees, plant all that into that area.
formou to. Takhle dokážeme velmi jednoduše
And this is the simple way how we can do it,
upgradeovat neutěšený prostor parkoviště,
to upgrade the area of the car parking, which is a problematic at the moment.
takže zde se kombinují dva generely, které jsme zpracovávali.
So here we combine two generals or two areas which we have put together.
Takhle to vypadá teď,
This is the situation now.
takhle může vypadat zde budou kola,
This is how it should look into the future, where the bicycles will be here,
amfiteátr
amphitheater,
a model pevnosti pro děti, kde si můžou hrát s vodou.
and model of the fortress for the kids that they can play with the water.
Vstup do hlavní historické části pevnosti
Entrance to the main historical part of the fortress,
a za 6 000 euro
and for 6,000 euros,
vytvořená zahrada pro kemping dětí,
created garden for camping, schools, kids, tourists.
typické krokové volby v České republice,
Typical roundabout in Czech Republic,
upravené.
and modified and adjusted one.
Typický vjezd v České republice do areálu,
Typical entrance in Czech Republic into the area or premises,
upravený vjezd.
modified entrance. Yeah.
Modifikace je velmi jednoduchá.
Modification is very easy.
Přejezdový kruhový vůbec, který nebrání legislativa.
This is a roundabout which is nothing against the legislation.
Aniž bychom zasáhli do konstrukce památky, tak představené
We don't have to intervene into the construction of the monuments.
různé barevnosti.
So colorfulness, and the silhouette of the soldiers, which you can see.
A opět vegetace,
And again, vegetation, grass,
která zakryje tento pohled.
which will cover up this view, present one,
Máme i průchody ve stávajícím gardu,
and also entrances in the present area and edge, which are low cost, of course.
stávající stav,
Again, as it looks now,
nový stav.
a new one.
Tohle je skanzen historický
This is the historical skansen,
a teď samotný infocentrum.
and now the actual info center.
Rozdělené na pronajímatelné plochy,
Divided into the areas which you can rent out,
stále expozice,
the expositions which are there for long-term period,
a vnitřní centrální srdce pevnosti.
and internal heart of the fortress.
Půdorys je dál
That's the plan.
a důležitá věc.
An important thing,
Mobiliář
where you can store all the paper documentation.
není tvořen z nových prvků,
It's not created from a new element,
ale využíváme
but we are using it
spadly dřevěné prvky ze Žižkových kasáren.
from soldier barracks. Some shelves came down, roofed wooden shelves.
Takže poskládáme odpad
So let's say we call it a waste, we put it together,
v rámci woodworkeru vytvoříme tenhle tvar.
and in frame of the woodwork we will create such a shape which you can see.
Jak jsme k tomu tvaru došli,
And how we came to this shape,
kombinace názoru stakeholderů,
combination of the stakeholder opinion,
promítneme tam linku, kterou máme.
we will reflect the line which we also have outside.
Máme tam vlastně ty posty stejně jako na pevnosti.
We have the same posts or the angles which we have at the fortresses,
A vřelý úsměv žád.
And of course, a nice smile of the frog. Yes, sorry. Thank you.
Stávající prostor.
Again, present area.
And upravený prostor.
And again, adjusted or modified, reconstructed area.
Velmi jednoduchá knihovna.
A very easy and simple library.
Je to obrys granátní sochy, která byla v Terezíně.
It's a shape of a statue or monument which was in Terezín.
Nařezaná na knihovnu jako poličky.
And it was divided and cut as a shelves, as a library.
A budou-li peníze,
And if there will be some money left or available,
můžeme využít hologramy, které provázejí v Beijingu na letišti.
we can use the holograms which are also at the airport in Beijing.
Vstupní hala
Entrance again,
a různý názory na další prvky, které můžeme komunikovat i nadále.
and various opinions which we can communicate into the future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, especially for fitting the time limit of the presentation. So it was all about the Terezín. Now I would like to ask Wim Debaene from Regional Landscapes Antwerp in Belgium to present his work.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm together here with Daniël. So my name is Wim Debaene from Regional Landscapes in Antwerp, Belgium. And I brought with me online, unfortunately, couldn't come with us, Daniël Pletinckx. Just a check, is he following online?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Daniël. Daniël says hello to the public. So, let's start. Just put the arrow, I assume. Yeah. One back. Sorry about that. Yeah, when you see the RFC project in one image, you could show this timeline, and it shows really interesting milestone moments to begin with. At the left, you see where the project ID for the RFC project has grown in Herenthals. And then you see 4 years working really hard, 200%, 300%, non-stop going until today, in the upcoming weeks, of course, also. But you see interesting moments, also, for example, the kickoff we had in 2019. It has already been some time, I know. And then you see in our region also these regional meetings in Dendermonde, Fort Lier. In between, we also had the opportunity to have a peer review together with the city of Antwerp on the fortifications in Antwerp city. It was a 2-day online meeting. And then I continue, I don't go into detail, but then you see this also the other meetings, and we see also the pilot project we had in Lillo. It's an important action. Daniël will present it for you. And then we also see the last final year, the follow-up, how it continues. We won't stop now, we will see new projects coming, new cooperations are developed, so I will talk later on this continuation. But it's interesting also how the partnership, the European partnership, has delivered good techniques to the workshops, to the knowledge exchange is really central, and we have done this also on a regional scale. And this has developed a good cooperation, because we had the fortress belts, but now we have a stronger cooperation, not only in Antwerp, but at Flemish level. And to continue on local level, we also have good local actions, startup, for example, the Virtua Fort, the pilot project in Lillo. I think the best way to show results is by facts and figures. It has some details I can show you, but actually it's about how the financing of thanks to the RFC and the Interreg Europe project, approximately 230, or exactly 230,000 euro for our part, for the regional landscape, we multiplied by 4. Until now, we see many projects, for example, again, the pilot action, but other projects on master planning in Dendermonde, Lier, but also Blue Deal projects on water structures in Herenthals. Some cultural projects we're doing right now on the fortress belts in Antwerp, altogether approximately 1 million euros. So it's, I think, a nice achievement. I also brought some magazine with me in Dutch. Unfortunately, I'll give it as a present for all partners, 1 copy. But you also can QR scan it or discover on the webpage below. But this is a magazine from a heritage organization, and we had the opportunity to present our project in this magazine. It's a really good achievement, again, how to deal with future topics or create future visions on heritage. Besides that, I'll show it. We have a digital brochure, but I made a copy so I can show it. It's more ecological. Then we have it digital also with the QR code, and we made specially for you the English version. So it's like a good deliverable what we have done, so you can have a look at it. I think really interesting. Again, 1 copy for each partner, and I think also for Etienne, I have 1 copy more for you. But it's interesting because you can see how our results have come together. Also, you can see how cooperation has grown and is still continuing. You can recognize maybe in the logo of the brochure our own hooks of our regional landscapes, and we see these hooks thanks to my colleague, in the design of fortifications. And actually, it's not about heritage project. You can say, what is Wim talking about? This project, RFC, is actually about new topics, dealing with environmental issues, dealing with touristic projects, dealing with new mobility, how to walk, how to cycle in these places. And I think that's the way you have to see this project. It's like matchmaking, go behind, or go further, actually, and look for good topics. And that is what we have done from the beginning. I think many of you know this image already. We connect each site with a certain topic, and that had worked out very well for us. And I've put always on the right above check the brochure, so you can check later by yourself. But this is how we have put the cooperation together with the 6 sites. When I go around, Dendermonde below, Mechelen, Fortress of Lier, Herenthals, and I go on the top, Zandvliet, and the Fortress of Lillo, all around the city, the greatest city of the world, of Antwerp. That's just a joke. But then you can see how each city have connected. We have connected it with a certain team. And this was also the model for our regional meetings. This was important because we could connect Lier with a team of how to finance these fortifications. We could connect Dendermonde with how to deal with the green management of these fortifications, etc. And we invited a lot of experts on these half-day meetings and discussing and giving inspiration to each other, and that has grown into really good, solid cooperation until now. When you do this 5-6 times, they see the opportunity, and a lot of other cities are following, and not only the cities around Antwerp. There are cities outside Antwerp region. Dendermonde is a little bit further away, but you also have Oudenaarde and Zout-Leeuw. So I now come to the moment to present you the real actions, or how it's written in the action plan. On local scale, you have Lillo. I will give a little introduction to that, and then Daniël will take over. And then you have also Herenthals, where the project idea actually was initiated. And then on regional scale, I will explain more about the fortress belt. Daniël, I will give a little introduction to this one. Again, you can check the brochure. This is Frederik, he's the coordinator. It's like a testimonial in the brochure, and he explains the really good value of the pilot project to the master plan itself. They could make better design of the bridge, for example, because of the pilot project. And it also has a great touristic value. Some of you have visited the fortress. That's been somewhere, 2019, but now with Virtafort, there is a real new touristic story. You can bring the story of Lillo, actually, how it was in the past, but Daniël will explain. It's another image, how the situation is in Lillo, but I think very useful for you to see each site in the brochure, how the topics on tourism, environment, and mobility are made better. Okay, Daniël, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. From Belgium here, from a rainy Belgium. Yes, like Wim explained, in fact, Lillo has, through this pilot project, got a reconstruction of how it was in the past, but also how it will become in the near future, because there are major works planned in Lillo, which I will explain in a second. But in fact, the whole point about bringing such a project and a virtual reconstruction of Lillo is that it gives access to the public, not only access physically, because the fortress is there, but to the content and to the story of this site. And also how it will evolve, in fact, into a site that can be used for obtaining more tourism, for obtaining more visitors. So we have made it in such a way that indeed it's a durable tool that can be accessed in several ways. Next slide, please. So the current application, in fact, shows 3 periods. So the period of 1640, it shows what it is today, and it shows, in fact, what it will become in 5-6 years from now, after the major works have been done. And this application now is aimed at guided groups, groups with a guide, and we have done already several test presentations at different occasions, and which all went very well. You see one image of that on the left-hand side in the bottom. But also we intend to use it for unguided groups. That means it can be used completely unattended by the means of hand tracking. And on the right-hand side image, you see this. It's another project because it's not implemented yet in Lillo itself, but the software is ready and everything is ready for implementation. And the hand tracking, in fact, digitizes your hands and allows you to walk through the city and do all kinds of things. So in this way, we have a completely non-contact and unmanned way of showing the 3D virtual reconstruction. We have made from this virtual reconstruction also an online version, and this online version you can see at the address which is mentioned there, and that gives really a time machine. You can go through the time and you can walk on many points through Lillo in the different periods. So try it out, check it out, and you will have a good idea how the project looks like. And finally, we have made a project blog that documents, in fact, the reconstruction process, but also how the application is used. So it has been shown now in different occasions, even to schools. And so we will continue to document what is happening with this application, what are the events, when it will become available, and so on. We will document that and communicate that through this blog. Next slide, please. So how does it look like? You have a virtual reconstruction of Lillo in 1640. You completely navigate through the whole site. You can even go up in the air. You can completely try out the cannons. You can do a lot of things and see also practical life there. You see the horse, you see how cannons were mounted on their support. But they also see, for example, the gallows, which are kind of symbol that there was a jurisdiction, there was a court, etc. There was a really small community, small isolated Dutch community within a Flemish area. Next slide, please. And we also show how it will become. In fact, you know that the major reason for doing these major works is to make a higher dike, to make a better protection against floods of the river. And this dike will, in fact, be 3 meters higher than it is today. And this new dike, and so in the same effort, in fact, the form of the fortress is restored like it was in the past. So it will become a much more attractive place, is better. And like Wim was saying, with the bridge, like it was before, so it will resemble much more like it was in the past and become in this way a touristic place. The harbor will be put outside the dike, of course, for security reasons, that the dike is not penetrated. And in this way, there is also a flood protection, like you see in the bottom right-hand image, a flood protection that if there would be a very high water level, then that can be closed so that the city, the interior is completely protected. Next slide, please. So the current application now is ready and is shown in many occasions, but on the other hand, we are planning the installation in the former church of the place there, of the site, and this church is not church anymore. The church is vacant, in fact, and property of the city of Antwerp. And that means, in fact, that we are making at this moment a detailed plan on how to use that, and that plan will be submitted in September. In the images you see on the left-hand side, the structure of the church, and on the left-hand side you have an area which is closed off with glass panels for the public, which is always accessible during the day, of course. And in the church itself there is an area where there is a large screen projection and which can be used for groups. So in this way we can deal with both individuals, unguided groups, families, but also with guided groups, larger technological guided groups with a guide that can do a presentation and an interactive walkthrough, in fact, of the city, both in the past and in the future, on this large screen with the guide. And of course, in this way, this setup will also be usable for concerts, for example, for other events, for presentations, for any kind of public activity that you can think of. And so that's another way of attracting more people to this site. Next slide, please. Oh, previous slide, if you can, sorry, I forgot something. Yes, so on the right-hand image, you see, in fact, the hand tracking column. That's a small wooden column that contains a hand tracking sensor. And that is, in fact, this space that is publicly available and publicly accessible better so that you can have a projection on the wide area there. You see the projection. And so in this way, the church is a kind of info point for not only the application that we have been making, but also for information about the works, about the timing of the works, and so on. So that also will be presented there on the glass panels that close off that area. Yes. Next slide, please. Yes. So we wanted, in fact, to bring much more the human side of this reconstruction, and now we have reconstructed the buildings, let's say the site, how it all looked like and so on, and we have put in a lot of objects, and the guide of course can tell the story, but we wanted to make the human story, the human side of this fortress also available through a game, because we can rely on a large study that has been carried out of 10 years and which has resulted in 7 books, in total more or less 5,000 pages, and which have all the details that are available in the archives, and so in this way gives us a very good insight on how people lived in that time. And so we want to turn that evidence, we want to turn that information into a game, so which is called, with a very expensive word, gamification. So a game that can be played by groups, of course by individuals also, but a public game. So you come in the church and you can play this game. And so we have submitted that to the Flemish Audiovisual Fund, because that's the authority in Flanders that deals with serious games. And so in this way we were asked also to do our own investment, and we have done that through expanding the model with several interiors of buildings. We have made characters, like you see the baker there, and we have also invested a lot of effort in the story tree, all this information in these 5,000 pages, and turn it into a good story that can be played, in fact. And we have submitted this 2 times. So that means, in fact, for one time we have asked for about 70,000 euro funding. The next time we have asked for less, 25,000 euros, and both of those attempts have failed. And that I want to say something about that, because in fact always in all these projects they ask innovation, innovation, innovation. So we are an innovation company. We are working 25 years in digital heritage and doing a lot of innovation. We have what we propose here. We have this working. We have this in a local project. We have this working already for several years. So we know what we're talking about. And nevertheless we find out that the people that have to judge, in fact, on this application have not the knowledge, in fact, about this. It's not the first time I encountered this, that, in fact, the judges, in fact, not always have the right, appropriate knowledge of dealing with such innovation. So it's a pity, and I hope, in fact, that our knowledge and our competence in making such a project, in fact, can be used in other projects with fortifications. I would love to do things like that. So that's my part, and I hand it over to Wim. I don't know if we have time for the videos.
Daniel, thank you for your explanation. The videos we will do afterwards, maybe when we have time left.
Oh,
It's okay, but stay with us, and then you
I
can
stay,
explain
yes, thank
through
you.
the video. Thank you, Daniel. So, two more actions to come. I present you Herenthals. Herenthals, you can see in the image, the coastal domain Le Page. It has been built on top of the fortification of the city, but it has no connection with the other parts of the fortification. So there is the project ID grown. For the RFC project, you have to make it as a whole again, as a city structure. And then Mien van Olme is the mayor of the city. She's really proud that the RFC project has grown there in her city, and she still is one of the strong politicians following the project, besides other mayors. That's also important. You have the mayors that can believe in you. They have to stand next to you. You need them. This is again one image of the brochure, and you can see a little image on the bottom right, and you see the orange button. It's like in the digital brochure you can click on. So you're inside a virtual reality of the city of Herenthals and its ramparts, how it used to be. Interesting for you to know it's a digital brochure, so it's interactive. It's not only the PDF you can click on and you come on web pages, certain virtual projects. Check it out. I would like to show it to you now, but we have little time. Again, second page of Herenthals, some explanation of the groundwork. It's in the north of the city. Here you can see three pointed bastions, three bastions. Sorry. There I'm again. So they're in the top of the city, and it's a really special city structure. Le Page is also there in the middle. It's with the moat and the bastion that still has a hill there in the park. And now in the master plan, there's a company that made a master plan. The biggest achievement will be one connecting path. Really simple. Connecting paths, that the city structure is a whole again, in one material, preferably, but preferably in one material, but it will be made in different phases. About the action on the blue deal, I will explain, as it is the action written in the action plan. It's because of the follow-up of the policy change we made there. And because of the funding of the Flemish government through Blue Deal. Again, it is not a heritage project, it's a nature project. We are creating new nature on top of the fortification. And you can see on the image, it's like a natural habitat, creating the pond of the castle domain again with a river next to it. So it will be connected again. Some other image of the concept below, how it used to be on the left. And then in the middle you can see now it's not connected anymore with the river, the Kleine Neta. And this is how the Blue Deal will deal with it, actually. Create new nature on top of, and create the water structures again, connected again with the river. And this is an image you can see in the park explaining the project and the funding of, in total, 250,000 euros for this infrastructural work. Also with some studies, hydrological studies, etc. It's an important project, one of the first projects on the fortress. Thanks to the minister. Thank you, Suhaldemir. Again, and I will go quickly through as I check the time with Jerzy. Still some time? Thank you. It was a no, it was a yes? Okay. So I'll go through the last action. It's like a more regional action on the fortification of Antwerp. Actually, you can see the image here. You don't see all fortifications on this image. We have many more, in total 30. And there is a head of archaeological department, Karen Minsaar, also following the project because of Lillo, because of Sandvliet, but actually also because of the importance of the fortifications in Antwerp city. She's working last decade, I don't know how many years. She's really an expert how to bring back the city structures in these oldest parts, the Spanish Wall, also the Hutsteen. Some of you have been there. It's like the Burgt is where the city has started. The city of Antwerp has started at the River Scheldt. So you can see many fortifications, and this cooperation actually has ended for the last, when RFC started actually. This cooperation was led by the province of Antwerp for 10 years, and then the province board actually decided now it's up to the municipalities itself, because each fort is another municipality. It's really complicated. More than 20 municipalities, 2 provinces. So the fortification of Antwerp is really, on European scale, one of the largest. Of course, next to Paris and Amsterdam, but you could compare them. So what is the action about? I'll put this mic away, one moment. Again, it's not about heritage, it's about culture. Here we do the matchmaking, and I think the key word, or my recommendation for you, is to do matchmaking and to look for topics, interesting topics. And for the fortification, how to bring this network of forts again and to connect them again, we are creating cultural routes in between the fortresses. And now for the upcoming years, 2003, we started now, until 2025, my colleagues will work on, many colleagues, because you can see the colors. In red is the city of Antwerp, in green is the left bank of the other bank of the River Scheldt. And then you have all these organizations working together in this huge network project. And again, 100% funding thanks to the Flemish government. I think I can say thank you again. Another minister, I don't know the name, doesn't matter, thank you. So this makes a difference, you know, and the project is about sharing, it's in Dutch, so I'm sorry, how to work with guides, how to work on theater, how to work with digitalization, like, for example, the Virtua Fort will be part of this project. So it's a whole project that you can learn each other how to do it and give inspiration to each other. And at the last year, we will have a final large agenda of all kinds of events for schools, for theaters, for art, etc. These are things that are going on already, but could be better communicated. And so people in the south of Antwerp don't know about adventure games that are in the north of the Antwerp. So I think that's the biggest achievement that they will have to do, is to have good communication on this one. I'm almost there, but I want to explain also some image of the final meeting last year. Maybe you will recognize some people. Hey, Josephine here. It's convenient, this showing thing. Son Jong here. I also have to professor. He was following the Virtua Fort and doing the part of the University of Antwerp in the research there. And speaking about this cooperation, we see a lot of other cities joining RFC because of lack of sharing expertise, sharing knowledge. And in Zuid-Leeuw, as I have mentioned, Oudenaarde, another province, also Mena. And last month, no, a few weeks ago, I went to Dist, city in the Red province here. There are so many fortress cities, and they see, interesting. Let's work together, create new projects. We only could help each other because Dist is coping with the same problems as Herenthals, for example. They don't have to find out by themselves. And that's the reason why to work together. And I have to say, also in all regional meetings we had in the RFC project, I always had Raf with me from Efforts. He's the networking guy, the meeting guy, organizing things, moderating things. And it's really convenient, so I could deal with the topic itself and the content of all meetings. But he's also working together with me how to continue this network. On the 8th of June, we will have the second meeting with all these fortifications in Flanders, giving the intention to work together. Put it on paper, what will we do? Okay, with the mayors invited also, of course, and then we can continue. This was also image of the last, I'll stop pointing, the last final meeting in Lillo, and it says, samen bruggen bouwen, it's like build bridges together. You can recognize Waterbus going to Lillo. It's like a connector, and I think we have to make connections in between all of the partners. And you can see in this graphic recording all partners dealing with some topic, and if you know which topic you are dealing with or have questions, you can ask the other partner, and I think that's the best way to cooperate. And I think we have no time, or I'll decide not to show the videos, but please again check by yourself the QR code, the online version, like Daniel was explaining. You can find it here, and you can walk in the 17th century and jump on the same spot to the future. In 6 years' time, Lillo will look not the same as in the 17th century, but it has the same atmosphere. So I think, Irzi, please tell me, but if you have some small questions I would like to ask, I would like to answer them, or Daniel. So feel free. Thank you. No questions? Okay. If you have, please ask me afterwards or when we are drinking later. Don't hesitate. I also have the master plan of Lier. I have a master plan with me, so we're always talking about master plans, I think, but it's in Dutch, but it has many images.
Thank you very much for excellent presentation, showing that these fortifications can be seen not only as monuments but also as part of the landscape. We can deal the question of greenery, we can deal the questions of culture and so on. Next partner, please, Ioana Dragos, and speaking about the Romanians.
Good afternoon. one of the main challenges in this project was that after the redraw of our Greek partner, I would always have to speak about after Wim. So it's still a challenge from the content point of view. You have seen an out-of-the-box approach, I would say, from the point of view of the Interreg Europe. We have now with us the representative of the Interreg Europe, and maybe later can confirm. From our side, I represent the Northwest Regional Development Agency, with a lot of Interreg projects implemented. You will see a very inline approach following the offer of the Interreg Europe and the requirements and the specificities. We have learned a lot, one from another in this project, and we also learn from our stakeholders. That's why together today with me, it's the representative of the Transylvania History National Museum, which was one of the most active stakeholders in our region. Okay, let me see how it should be this one. Quick one, right? So to complement the time scale that Wim showed you, we brought some pictures, and it's very difficult to put into words and to a time frame of 10-15 minutes all the activities that have been around us for 4 years. So that's why we are truly thank our partners, our stakeholders for everything that, first of all, we have learned, and we have built up the administrative capacity of our teams, but in the same time, we have shared knowledge all around our regions and also beyond. These are some representative pictures of the study visits, and they're not all. It started with Antwerp, as Wim pointed out. These are the two last ones in Spain and in Romania, which were truly a milestone, stepping out, let's say, the challenges of the pandemic. All the study visits have been done, but the physical ones are really a stepping stone compared to the virtual ones. But we did it both ways. In short, and we will try to be short, so in our action plan we have 3 measures. 2 of them are related to heritage, to infrastructure, but not only. You have seen the green part. We have also applied the green, the nature, the culture around the heritage. And a soft measure related to management, to heritage management. First one is related to fortress, which is in Cluj-Napoca, so the main city of the northwest region of Romania, Transylvania. And the role of the Regional Development Agency as partner was to monitor the implementation of these actions. So for each of the actions, we have pointed out the stakeholders. They're mostly local public authorities who, mostly due to the participation to the local stakeholder group, but not only, they have managed to submit projects along the project implementation to gain financing from different programs. You have seen here, for example, technical assistant operational program to prepare the technical documentation for a future heritage infrastructure project to be funded in our region. And this one has succeeded, has also the green part within. And for each of our measures, we pointed out the inspirational, what inspired us to point out and to reach this kind of measures. And these are some of the best practices that have been shared during our project. You have seen Lillo Fortress before, but also Magdeburg and Terezín, of course, in the center of the good practices regarding green relation to the infrastructure, to the heritage infrastructure. Another action is pointing out how we can connect several heritage sites and how we can apply an integrated planning, promotion, digitalization for the touristic and for the community development. And we took advantage of the fact that during this period, the national resilience plans were launched in each of our countries. And one of the measures was related to cultural roots. So in our local stakeholder group meetings, we have promoted actively this call of proposals, and several of the municipalities from our local stakeholder group applied to it. We have followed 2 of them, but actually as a result, there are lots other heritage sites, both Roman forts and fortresses, which have now are included in the funding list, both for rehabilitation, a few of them, and most of all for integrated promotion. And these, again, were inspired by best practices from our consortia. You see here Forte Cultura, the fortress ring that Wim was mentioning about, but also from the point of view of the digitalization and joint promotion, we have nice examples from Teruel and from Czech Republic and also again from Belgium and from Germany. And in what regards the third measure for integrated management, I will give the word to Zsolt. Thank you.
Ioana, greetings all. My name is Zsolt Csók, for those who don't know me. I was an external expert for the Northwestern Regional Development Agency in Cluj, and it was one of the most interesting adventures on Interreg projects that I have been in. And very shortly, I will present I have to admit, one of my favorite actions of this project, namely the Heritage Advisory Board that we have learned from our colleagues from Magdeburg. And we have managed to bring together a group of stakeholders that have succeeded in convincing the local and county authorities why it is good if you are listening a little bit to the experts that are around you as well. So in matters of the Heritage Advisory Board, we have taken the example of Bologa, where we have a very small village surrounded by stone quarries, but the village has a medieval fortification and also on the other side of the valley a very impressive Roman auxiliary fort as well. This is why we thought that it would be an integrated strategy to advise the local and county council on these issues and on the management of these 2 sites. We have chosen the expertise of the Transylvanian Order of Architects. We have alongside ourselves the chief architect of Cluj County, archaeologists, historians, art historians, and landscape architects as well. And we are organizing semestrial meetings and presenting new ideas to the local council, which is, as I've mentioned, a very small one, and it is a quite big effort to make them understand why these actions are good for them. And as results in this collaboration was the fact that the Roman fortification, I have to tell also that the medieval fort was restored and reopened for public in 2020 with the finance of the National Rural Development Program with a financing of 500,000 euros. But now, because of our insistences to the local council, the Roman fortification was taken in the National Recovery and Resilience Plan and has gained a financing of almost 2.2 million euros for partial reconstructions, restoration, a little bit of restoration as well, and it has gained, alongside the medieval castle as well, 60,000 euros. 30,000 euros each for integrated promotion, digitalization, and so on. In matters of the models that are following this action of RFC, 3 weeks ago we have spoken with the administrator and owner of Porolissum, the Roman camp, where we have been also with our colleagues in during the visit in Romania, and we are trying to establish there as well a large-scale master plan on the Roman fort as well, but we want to include a few campsites for building research and innovation centers for young people and mostly students to try to prevent the heavy immigration of good quality specialists in our country. One of our favorite best practices in matters of advisory board and digitalization and the cultural integration of these objectives towards the social opening were the Magdeburg fortress in Germany. Our Spanish colleagues have presented us the digital model of how can you visit these excellent objectives, and through events that bring social life in these objectives that we have seen from our German colleagues as well. In matters of sustainability, we in Romania, we have been so inspired by the RFC project that we have accepted the challenge with the National Museum of Transylvanian History to take further on the RFC and alongside our colleagues from Germany prepare a new Interreg project, which will try to take on another level, on a higher level, on another journey towards, based on everything that we have learned from RFC. So we are trying, from our behalf, from Romania as the lead partners, to integrate a series of Roman and also medieval objectives in a very strong and integrated cultural route, mostly due to the fact that we, the National Museum of Transylvanian History, have succeeded in giving the Limes document, the Roman frontier documentation, in the 1st of February this year in Paris to the tentative list of UNESCO as a result of 8 years of work that have materialized in 6 volumes and 3,000 pages, with which we want to get the frontiers of the Roman Empire that are in Romania, to get them in UNESCO. And of course, it would be excellent to teach forward and onwards with the integration in the new Interreg project, these objectives, a few of these objectives that we hope that will be World Heritage from next year. Thank you
thank you very much as well. Speaking about the time limit is excellent. So now we have still enough time to make the coffee break. We are a little bit faster, so the break will be till 3 o'clock. So we are a little bit faster than in program. Thank you very much.